Okay, so thank you so much for joining,
Yeah,
Stephen.
no problem.
So do you want to give yourself a brief intro?
Yeah, I can do. So I'm Stephen, Scottish tennis player, born and bred, played all over the world as a tennis player, and then started coaching when I was about 16 years old, and I've been doing it ever since. So
Nice.
now 30, about 14 years of coaching. So yeah,
So you're revealing
love it.
your age here, but that's okay.
Yeah,
But that's okay because you're young enough not to have to hide it. And I've
yeah,
always found guys don't want to hide their age as much. They'll just be like, nope, I'm this age. And women will be like, well, I
yeah.
don't
They're
know. How old do I look?
yeah.
So tell us a bit more about like tennis in Britain, in the UK. They haven't really had a champion besides Andy Murray, and what can be done about that? Because they do host one of the world's championships, the Grand Slams.
Yeah, I think to be honest, for me the governing bodies in these bigger countries take over a little bit too much. They try to have a bit too much of a control in hand on how the system operates and how the system should be. It doesn't actually allow enough sort of enough character from the coaches or enough freedom for the coaches to do as they wish and how they see fit to run their program. They're very much governed in certain ways down the mini tennis route and certain age brackets. You can play a tournament only up to this age, and then after that point you have to move into this next one, but you can't jump up before you get to that age, so it's very restrictive in certain ways. And also I feel like the teaching systems on the both actually on the LTA and the USTA system, because I've also coached in America, very similar in terms of they try to teach almost like the perfect technical work all the time, and they forget actually that that player has to actually step on a court and deliver it, and a lot of it comes down to the tactical implementation and the mental implementation that they can provide. It's not always about the perfect technical prowess of a player.
Right. It's about how you handle different situations
Yeah,
on the court and how
exactly.
you make adjustments and how you tactically, plan. If I have a certain opponent, what am I going to do? And really, that kind of stuff can be taught at a young age, right? Even as young as like 7 or 8, you can teach tactics.
Yeah, for me, if you can teach the technical basics first of all, so that the basic techniques of each stroke, and then allow them to actually develop in their own style a little bit, and only make tweaks as and when it's maybe an inhibiting problem, but actually allow them to have their own style. You see players like Andy Murray, Rafael Nadal, who've got very different styles to maybe anything that you've seen before. But it's because they got taught it at a very young age, and then they've been allowed to prosper afterwards. And I believe, like from that point of getting those little bits of technical information, then immediately it should move into the tactical and the mental side, as you say, from a very young age, five,
Yeah,
six,
because
seven
you
years
can
old.
do drills with little kids, like
Yeah,
say, hit it to each other, but move it around, or you can have kids, encouraged to run into the net. There's so many things you can do
yeah.
to, like, get kids in the habit of executing different game plans. So, what did you mean when you said allowed to prosper?
Do you mean for coaches or for players
For the
themselves?
players, you said Andy Murray that he was allowed to prosper. Like, what do you mean
Yeah,
by
so
that?
he was allowed to prosper a little bit within his own technique, and find his own pathway through his technique. So yes, he had coaches like guiding him along, but likes of himself and Rafael Nadal, even players like David Ferrer, they were coached the basic principles of a forehand or a backhand swing, but then allowed to allow that to develop of their own natural ability. And that's where you see Nadal maybe finishing his racket swing up and over his head, something that we've
Right.
never really seen before. And that was something they tried to coach that out of him, and then actually said, no, we're going to let him have it because it's working for him. And
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
find in the UK system, and also when I was in America, quite often coaches are obsessed on the having the perfect technique, and the coaching systems are obsessed on having those players having the absolute most beautiful playing technique, but forget what the purpose of that shot is in the first place.
So, what is this so-called system in Britain? And if it were up to you, how would you improve it?
I mean, the system, I think, first and foremost, is that they focus on the technical aspects far too much, and
Right.
they're more intent on someone being able to rally 50 or 60 shots using the perfect forehand than actually playing the game of tennis, which traditionally most rallies are finished within 4 shots.
I was thinking that. Yeah.
So why do we then practice a 50 60 shot rally, working on the absolute perfect shot all the time when the likelihood of that actually happening is very limited.
I mean, it's not really a realistic preparation. It's kind of like how kids learn all these courses in school. And then when they get into the workforce, they've got, no clue, how to do what their boss wants them to do. So there
Yeah.
is like a valid point. So, is there any way you can really make an impact or anyone can make an impact?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like freedom. Allow the coaches to have a little bit more freedom within their own methodologies. And if someone has a method and they believe in it, then that's absolutely fine. It doesn't have to be governed by a specific way they've been taught, whether that's LTA, whether that's USTA, whether that's Tennis Australia. If they believe in teaching the forehand for 20 minutes at the start of a lesson, and then the rest of that lesson is all about tactical play and gameplay, then absolutely let's let them have that. Don't have this sort of pressure of it must look this certain way, the shot must be perfect. We really need to focus in on actually allowing people to start to play the game a little bit more, rather than creating the most perfect shot all the time.
And so, like, how does it work now, though? Like, if you're a coach in the UK, do people watch your lessons who are in the governing body? Do you have to submit lesson plans? Like, how exactly are you controlled?
So yeah, well, I mean, it's an interesting question actually, because there you have to do your lesson plans and everything to actually pass your qualifications. So
Right.
the first stage of your qualifications is very much a case of like jumping through some hoops to get there, in terms of this is the way we want to see the lesson done. We want you to show us and demonstrate exactly how this is happening. But after that point, it's more through maybe video tutorials, top up. We have in the UK, it's called CPD points, which is like a top up process towards their
Right.
accreditation that they have. So they have to get 12 points, throughout the year. So they go to different courses to do so.
Sure.
But they don't actually get monitored or reviewed that often, in all honesty.
Right. So you could, once you're licensed, you could be doing whatever you want to do in your lessons. But if someone doesn't get licensed, is there any way for them to teach, or you pretty much have to be licensed to teach at all in the UK?
You should be licensed through a coaching body and have your validity checks done in terms of safeguarding, and we have like DBS checks against protection for children and vulnerable adults and that sort of thing.
Right.
But even for myself, like, I'm actually not British tennis qualified. I actually qualified through the Spanish teaching system.
So
Um,
that still allows you to teach, though, in the UK, even though
it,
you did the
it,
Spanish one.
yeah, it does. It's a little inhibiting. There's a lot of tennis clubs like don't seem to believe that you are able to coach unless you're
Right.
LTA qualified. So it can be tricky to find a job under this other qualification, even though you are allowed to do so. And like through the sort of Spanish system, mini tennis doesn't exist as a product, but through the LTA, many tennis does exist as a product. So you're kind of expected at the clubs to deliver mini tennis as a product, even though it's maybe not something that you
You
believe
believe
in
in.
methodology. Yeah.
So, how has mini tennis kind of impeded some people's progress in your mind?
Um, for me, for a long time in the UK, so you did like red ball tennis between the age of like 5 to 8 years old,
Right.
and only once you hit that threshold, then you could then step onto orange ball. So you could be a 6 year old that was pretty strong, pretty good hand eye coordination, good solid contact against any level of tennis ball, but you couldn't move up in your competitions until you reach that age range. So it's quite inhibiting in that fact where you're being made to wait until a certain age before you can step up in your level. And each child has different physiological, different heights, different
Yeah,
so
mental development,
yeah,
strength
so
development,
everyone
everything.
develops at a different pace.
And the reality is that kids kind of, you know, if they're forced to be on the smaller court with the red ball, they'll start to they'll stop developing power. I've seen it happen where a kid kind of wants to hit it harder, but he knows that if he does, it's going to go too far for the small court.
Yeah,
Or, so I've always been more of like, whenever a kid's ready, they should be able to play yellow ball. And I think UTR tournaments are allowing kids to do that where they can
yeah,
play at their physical level rather than their age level or their gender.
yeah,
Um, a lot of kids just don't really enjoy the red balls. They just say that you really have to like hit the hell out of it for it to go anywhere. It's like
yeah.
when you're on the wrong side in the wind, kind of.
I don't know what the situation is in America with like dropout rates at
Right.
football. But certainly, like there's quite a high dropout rate at the red ball stage in the UK, and that's also the age range when kids are trying to find which sport they're going to get involved in as well. And I think it's a bit of an inhibiting factor that when I look at the TV and I see tennis, I see a big tennis court, and so does a 5 year old child. And
Sure.
then when they go along to the court, they're put on a small sized court for and they probably think, oh, when do I get to the big court? But they've got to wait between the ages of 5 to 8 on red ball, then 8 to 10 on orange, then onto the green ball before they eventually get up to playing with a full size tennis ball. What I've actually done myself when coaching abroad, I've coached in a few countries abroad, is when teaching the very young ones is we'll try to introduce them actually to a full size tennis ball pretty early on. Sometimes just using flatter tennis balls, a little bit older. Sometimes using the green balls or the orange balls. I'm definitely not against the different compressions, but as soon as
Right.
you can get up to the point of striking a full yellow tennis ball, then we move them on to that. And if it's a worry of them not being able to get it over the net, well, then we'll just reduce the size of, we bring them closer to the net and then work them further back until they're able to do so. But it helps them to develop better dynamical running, better change of direction, makes them a bit quicker around the court when they have to chase a ball that on a large size of tennis court that they maybe don't feel that, they're not at the right height or anything as an adult yet to get to, but they're on the court. They're learning the court surroundings from a very young age. And a lot of hand-fed drills, that sort of thing at that age, and taking away the competition is something that I believe in, and my own sort of methodology of
You
coaching.
want to take away the competition?
Take it
Or
like at a very young age. I think it's fine to have competition in and around clubs. Have some mini competition. That's absolutely fine. But I
sure.
don't think there needs to be regional competitions at the age of 5 where they're chasing points and rankings. You know,
Yeah, 5 is probably a little bit young for
but
that.
I mean, even up to 8, 9, 10, I still think that it's not really required. I think if you look at sort of 12, 13, when they're actually starting to build a little, they're starting to grow, they're just kind of maybe about to hit puberty and have that bit of a growth spurt and a bit of strength and that sort of thing. And they're more mentally tuned in as well. That's the point where you can actually really start to hone in on real competitions, and start to chase the ranking points if that's what's required at that time.
I mean, so what is a key to retention with kids? Because you mentioned that a lot.
Um, again, like I think retention comes down to success. So you can either take a kid has been successful because they're winning a tournament, in which case there's only one child can win that tournament. So
Right.
instantly you might have 32 joining up for your tournament, but only 30, only one of them might end up being the
Only one
winner.
of them's going to win. Half of
Yeah.
them will be out in the first round.
And at that age group, they're maybe a little bit more emotionally unstable than they can be once they get up to 11, 12. Schooling's become that little bit tougher. Life starts to get a little bit tougher, and they start to understand those things about winning and losing. So in terms of retention, I feel like things have to be fun. It has to be engaging. It has to be enjoyable. But success doesn't have to come through winning a tennis match. Success can be
Right.
perfecting a swing. Success can be perfecting, 10 shots in a row to a specific area of the court, providing a specific angle. Success could be, I'm 5 years old, but I can do an X drill on a full-size tennis court with a yellow tennis ball because I've now got the strength to do so.
I mean, those are excellent points. That there's so many different ways kids can be successful, and by recognizing them, the kid will be like, "Hey, I'm achieving a lot. I should stick with this."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's, when I grew up in tennis, there wasn't many tennis. It didn't exist.
Neither
Uh,
did it for me. And I
yeah,
mean, Rafa and Roger and all those people, they didn't have many tennis, and they turned out okay.
yeah, exactly. And for me, I think a lot of the time as well, I see retention also. Like if we look at families that maybe don't have quite the same amount of money, also, and you look at the different coaching systems, the different balls, the different rackets that they can like kind of grow up with, it becomes more costly as well, because you've got to buy a load of red balls, and then suddenly you're moving on to orange balls, and then
Yeah.
you're going up, and
Plus, you got to
uh,
buy new sneakers. Their feet will grow. You got to
yeah,
buy new rackets. So the balls just creates like an extra
it's just an extra
expense.
cost. Yeah. And the rackets, the rackets start from, I don't know what it is, 15 inches or 13 inches or something like that. They start as small as that, but how quickly a child grows. Oh, still there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm still there.
you're fine. Yeah, how quickly a child grows, they can actually very quickly go through that racket. So they can go from
Definitely.
the next one to the next one very, very quickly. So, and I think that's something that, like, clubs, I think they do a good job at trying to provide where they can these things, but they maybe don't be, they're maybe not provided with enough funding from maybe the governing bodies to help in that way.
I think
A load
that's
of
one of
rackets.
the biggest issues with tennis in general. That I think all governing bodies don't do as much as they need to give people funding to fully develop a program in terms of like helping them with marketing, helping them with making partnerships with schools, giving them courses. Like, I feel like a lot of people who coach tennis are just very under resourced,
Yeah,
and they don't have the tools to really grow and make it into a program that kids want to stay in.
yeah, yeah.
So
I,
now, what is your position now? You're working at a club, or what are you doing now?
it's an interesting position because of the way the world is at the moment. With don't want to bring it
So
up, but with the
you
way
gotta,
COVID and things. So I operate a holiday tennis coaching company across Europe, and I
cool.
look after maybe a team of 35 coaches across Europe, and I'll do the training and implementation of that program. And it's mainly for like British families coming overseas into Spain, Greece, Croatia, and Italy. And
Nice.
we'll coach them for a week or two at tennis, adults, children, the full package. So it's more of like a 1 or 2 week stay. However, because of no holidays and things been happening, I've been
Yeah.
furloughed from that. So I'm still getting paid from my company, but working back in the UK. And I've started coaching at a local club in Glasgow, Scotland. So I've been doing some work there, but that's mainly just been on an adult program.
Right.
So I've been doing a little bit of work with that. And in the time of lockdown as well, I've been building a website, like a tennis specific website, to
Cool.
try and sort of grab a bit of a community and pull a community together and have a bit more of a wider role in the tennis community.
So this is Tennis Buzz, right?
Yeah, this is the tennisbuzz.com. Yeah.
Do you want to go into that a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So, effectively, what we've created, it's the world's first social media platform dedicated to tennis.
Right.
And so it has the same sort of social media functionality you would expect to see on the likes of Facebook. It has a news feed, your photo options. We have groups. We have private messaging functionality. You can post up something about your club, and others can come and comment on it or like it, that sort of thing. So it's got very much
Nice.
similar functionality. We've decided to build in a lot of other aspects to the job to the site, including a jobs platform to allow free and easy jobs postings and applications, not just in the UK. At the moment, it is very UK based, but
Sure.
it has the potential to be more of a global thing.
So the
Um,
UK is more your focus now, but you're looking to be in the whole world
yeah,
eventually.
at the moment, it's been UK based because that's where a lot of our contacts are, and a lot of our friends that coach, and clubs that we know, and that sort of thing. And it's relatively new. We've probably only launched in the past 2 months, and we're still waiting on a few added features. We've got an app coming to Google and Apple stores pretty
Cool.
soon, because that will be kind of the better functionality when that comes, because it's then in your pocket. No one really wants to sit in front of their desktop that often
Right.
anymore.
Nobody wants to log on to a website. I haven't used a
Yeah,
computer in weeks. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So laptop functionality is kind of a bit backwards nowadays, but we've built the features that will then transfer onto our app. So that's hopefully coming pretty soon. And yeah, we've got the jobs platform on there, and we've also got like a videos and resources section. So we've built just some simple templates for lesson plans, for tournament draws, all these things that maybe take up a little bit of time in day-to-day coaching life or day-to-day club life. Someone's running a tournament, and it's all the planning and implementation that takes up a lot of the time. So we've tried to simplify these things and make life a little bit easier, and have these resources at hand. And we've got a video catalog up there as well. So we've got some of our own videos on there. We've got about 100 at the moment, and we'll be putting on another sort of 40, 50 or so in the coming weeks and
So
months.
how do you rival like the USTA system, like Tennis Link or something like that? And what are some hoops and dreams you have for this website?
Um, in all honesty, like hopes and dreams, like we've got a directory built in there. So
Right.
if you're from New York, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So in the future, what we'd love to do is catalog all those tennis clubs onto the site. It's free to join, so they can come on and make their profile. They can tell you all about their club and all the facilities, and that's all in
Right.
one place. And then what would happen is, you've just moved from New York to New Jersey, and you go onto the site and you type in New Jersey, and you look for all the tennis clubs in that region, because you're now wanting to look to play tennis in a new location or a new place.
Right.
Or you're looking for a new coach in a new location, or maybe you're actually headhunting a specific coach, that sort of thing as well. And it's a way that then you can connect and play. Or if someone's brand new to tennis, looking to get involved in it, they can jump onto the site, they can watch a few videos and have to practice with some of their friends as well. So it's not all serious videos. And then from there, they can. Sorry, I'm just going to turn my phone off a sec. And
No
then,
worries at all.
and then from there, they can go on and they can look for a specific club that then they can become a part of, and actually start to get into tennis. So what I would love to have is like a global tennis community,
Right.
where we have, wide scale clubs involved, wide scale coaches involved. It'd be a place as well where you could go on and network. If you've got a question or you want to ask for some feedback, yeah, we can do that on Facebook at the moment. But Facebook has a lot of other things going on. It's where your work colleagues are, it's where your friends are, it's where your dance partners are,
Yeah,
whatever
it does
it
have
is.
a lot of, it is a
Yeah,
little bit distracting in a way that there are just so many facets to
exactly.
Facebook.
Yeah. Whereas we aim to make this purely about tennis, so it's a sports focus. It's there for your tennis needs. It's there for clubs as well to be able to promote themselves to other clubs, to other coaches to other players in the whole community. And that's sort of like one size fits all. That's where I need to go to actually have a look at at tennis, and I can get all my information there.
I mean, one thing that comes to mind is like, what about game matching? Like, a lot of times when you become an adult, you quit the game of tennis simply because it's hard to find people to hit with who
Yeah,
are at your level and can play at the same time as you. Like, I know week to week, it varies how often I play because some weeks, I can play like, I am able to, wrangle a couple of games up, but other weeks I can't because some people it's just impossible to set up a time with them because of their schedule just doesn't match mine. And I would think that would be a great feature to it to help people like
yeah.
find a game with people that match them. Like
Well,
mostly
it's
my rule
actually
has become I won't play with anyone where it's too hard to arrange it.
yeah, yeah. Well, the ideal functionality of it is, like you have on Facebook, you can go onto Facebook and create a group about anything you want
Right.
to have. And we have this a similar functionality, so you can go on and you could create a group for New York State. I'm looking for players that are 3.5 or 4.5 rated players.
Right.
And I'm a lady tennis coach. I've played for 30 years. I'm just looking for some people to play in the evenings. And you then have that group there for anyone in that New York region can then be added into that, and you've got a very simple and easy fix to then find some people to play with. You can then private message them on the group so that no one else sees that chat, and and away you go, and you can find people to play with nice and easily. So it's there's a lot of functionality to the site, and a lot of potential with it. And the more it grows, the bigger that sort of snowball effect can happen, because the more clubs you get on there, the more potential places there are to play. The more coaches that join, the more more coaching opportunities that become. The more players that join, the more people you've got to play with. So it has got a large scale potential behind it. And we're just at the early stage of starting to grow that, which is nice.
Nice. And what are some ways it's impacted people or some early success stories with it?
I mean, like early success stories. We've had a couple of people that have already applied to some jobs on the platform as well.
Oh,
So
great.
which is good, because we've got, I think, 6 jobs up there at the moment, and they're not just UK based. We've actually got worldwide positions in Hong
Nice.
Kong, Thailand, UK, some different things. So we've had some people already applying for jobs, which is quite nice to be able to try and link them up and find maybe the correct coach for them, that sort of thing as well. So that's been pretty good. We've also been growing our platform through our own social media, which is, I don't know if I can't actually remember how we connected, whether it was through that or
Competitive tennis coaches, I
was that
think.
what it was? Yeah, okay. So,
Yeah.
we post quite regularly in some of the other forums out there on Facebook as well. But some of the things we've been doing is actually some success stories of other players around the world, different things happening, some lockdown tennis things, keeping people
Lockdown
occupied with
tennis.
lockdown tennis.
So,
Uh,
what's lockdown tennis exactly?
Lockdown tennis is basically trying to keep people passionate about the sport. Don't put your rackets away and get them out and play in whichever form or manner you can. So whether that's in the street, whether that's in your house, whether that's with a frying pan, let's try and give people some challenges and some things to do that they can
So,
they
there
can
are
get
some.
involved with.
So, in the UK now, are courts shut down with the new restrictions?
They are in most of the UK. Where I am in Scotland, we can actually still play. But down in England, for instance, or Northern Ireland or Wales, they're closed at the moment. So there's no play, no tennis allowed.
No tennis play,
In Scotland, we can still play singles tennis, and
just
we can
no
still
doubles.
coach private lessons. And children under 12 are still allowed to play.
Okay.
At the moment. So yeah, but yeah, it's ever evolving situation. So
I
you know,
mean, that's the crazy thing about these times is it's hard to plan when we don't even know tomorrow what's going to be
yeah,
happening.
yeah, exactly. So and around the world, we've seen some amazing things with people I've seen people playing in Spain between one balcony to another. They've been playing tennis, and
Aw, that's
it's just
cool.
it's great to see that there's a passion there for it, and if someone else sees it, it's hope, once they get out of the lockdown, they've been locked up for so long, like let's utilize this time to get people back onto a tennis court. They've maybe never played tennis before, but they might have seen a few things, and okay, I'm actually going to go and try tennis. I'm going to give it a go, because we've been locked up in the house for so long. I want to get out and do some exercise, and tennis seems like a good option.
It's true, there was, like, a spike in tennis, like, in June when they kinda opened things up a little in New York.
Yeah,
Lots of people were like, "Well, let's go play." Because when you've been locked in your house for 3 months, anything that seems safe seems fun rather than staying in your house, and there were so
yeah,
many
yeah.
more people that tried it, and just the courts were shut down, but I think a few times regularly I was sneaking into these courts that were open with my friend. Like, there was one set where we had to go under the fence and squeeze through, so it really was
Yeah,
at an advantage to be thin at that point.
yeah.
And another one, I think they just never got around to locking down. It was just always open. I think the cops came. We snuck in like 4 or 5 times, and then the cops came and
Okay.
were like, "Sorry, we didn't realize, but we got out alive. We weren't ticketed or
Yeah, yeah.
anything
Okay.
for it, so that was nice." But yeah, it's people have had to really be creative and figuring out ways to keep up their tennis skills when the courts were locked down.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like tennis is, I love it because I love playing competition. I love teaching people, but for a lot of people, it's like a mental outlay as well. You know,
Yeah.
they don't care about winning a tennis point, or they don't care. They like to be in the fresh air. They like to be with their friends. They like to just be exerting, hitting a tennis ball, and it's more from a mental perspective. It's so rewarding, and I think with the lockdown going on and that, it's just that little outlay that people have, and it's difficult when you lose that. Really, really tough.
Yeah, because you've got to have something to get away from like the monotony where you're sitting in your house and being like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yeah, yeah,
Am I going to get a COVID? Is the world going to end? Or, what's going to happen to the economy?" And all these things are going through your head. And having something else to focus on
yeah.
can really provide you with that respite.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's for me, it's one of the best sports for it, because you can be social outside, you can be distanced, and you can get that bit of exercise, you can get that bit of frustration out. It takes you away from the news, and I think there's very few people on the planet at the moment that don't want a respite from the news and what's been going on.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know, right? Nobody's like, "Well, let's sit down all day and watch how bad the world is."
yeah,
Like, how many people really have that attitude except people who like being miserable? But
yeah. But
so
you see it all too often at the moment. On you can have your TV off, but you log onto your laptop and there's something flashes up about COVID, or you go onto your phone and there's a news article
there's
pops
a
up,
notification.
or a friend shared something on Facebook, or so it's so hard to disengage from it. And I think that not just tennis, but all physical activity is so important. I just, for me, tennis is such a great outlay for it, because it does allow that interaction, but it's also socially distanced as well, which is great.
Yeah, because it is safe. And like you said, there's just no escape. Like, I made it a plea that, like, I try to only read articles that are not totally related to COVID, because
Yeah,
you want to read the newspaper to stay smart and informed. But, like, sometimes I feel like I can predict what it's going to say anyway. So I don't really need to read it.
yeah,
And, it's just like I barely could go reading 4 or 5 articles.
yeah,
If
yeah,
I can't even read more than 4 or 5 articles without feeling like, you know what, I've got to stop. Otherwise, I won't be motivated in the day. So I think I'm going to have to wrap this up soon. But I have
Right.
one final thing, only because I'm on a busy schedule. This has been a
You're
really
absolutely
interesting
fine. No
interview.
worries.
But so Spain obviously has produced like a lot of good players. They're doing very well in the tennis scene. do you feel their teaching and their system is better, and how?
I think their system is better. I'm going to say that from the outset. I do think their system is better because before they focus on anything, they focus on your footwork. And
Right.
that for me is 90% of tennis. Like, you can teach someone the perfect stroke all day long, but if their feet aren't in the right place to play it, or they don't have the right recovery afterwards to take advantage of the first shot to put away the second shot, then it's irrelevant. So footwork from their system is incredible. And then
Right.
they have the kind of technical or they have the technical and then the tactical elements in the middle. And the latter part that they'll focus on is the mental aspect. And you just see from the Spanish players how mentally tough and mentally strong they are. And it's because it's drilled into them from such a young age, mental techniques, how to overcome adversity, never to think that the match is done or the point's done. It's just go, 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 go. And taught very simple things. They're taught to understand how the scoring system works and how you can benefit from it if you just stay ahead in a game, or if you can get yourself 2 points ahead in a game, you're 75% more likely to win that game.
Sure.
And they're taught these things, and I've never heard it once taught when I've been coaching in the UK. So in terms of that, I think that their system is better. I also think they do a lot more hand-fed coaching, so less like rally drills and more of like actual intensive, and that's to do with the footwork and the technique and getting, and a bit of tactical play in there as well. They also a lot of the time coach on clay, which I think is a great surface because it slows the ball down a little bit.
Sure.
It gives them more to chase after. I think it also helps with the mentality because you always think you've got a chance to get to the next ball. So it's not quite as fast. So I think clay is a great surface to be coaching on. And I think the latter fact that they have is the weather, the climate is so good.
Yeah, you can play all year round there.
If I was to compare that to the UK, it's very different. Spanish weather to the UK weather. We have a lot of cold, icy weather in the winter. During the summer, we can get a lot of rain, a lot of damp tennis balls.
Yeah.
Fast courts. It's tough to coach a good system on that side. We've started to move towards artificial clay surfaces in the UK as a result.
Got you. Yeah, because the clay, you have to really be tactical and construct points well. You can't just blast a ball and win the point. So I would think that's an advantage of the clay.
Yeah.
So how can people find you and your site?
They can find us directly at the website, so thetennisbuzz.com. They can also follow us on Facebook or Instagram. So again, just just search for the Tennis Buzz, and you'll find us through that. Alternatively, you can get us through email, which is tennis@thetennisbuzz.com. And then if anyone wants to personally find me, Stephen Bradshaw, I'm on Facebook. I don't mind.
Nice.
You can also share my name. That's absolutely fine.
Awesome. Or they'll knock on your door of your house.
Yeah, to turn up at the door. Just don't bring anything with them. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The more the merrier. As I say, we're trying to grow the platform and trying to create something nice for the whole community. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for
perfect. It's been good
coming on. You're the first one of the new year, and
thank you.
Hoping this turns into big things for all of us.
Perfect. And you showcase this on certain channels?
Probably YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Those are probably the main, venues I'll use.
Okay.
Don't know if this is right for TikTok.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, obviously send me a link as well, and I can check it out. Perfect. No, it's been good to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Have a good one.
Cheers.
Bye.